Good morning, everybody. Dave T.I. here. I'm going to talk about brain entrainment and how to defeat it. Natural ways to defeat remote neural monitoring, tips and tricks to defeat the mind control technologies. Very good information I've got here today. But first, I'm going to read a psalm. I said I'm going to read a psalm every time I start my program. And well, not program, whatever you want to call it, and podcast, whatever you want to call it. Just some tortured individual coming up here and trying to give advice. Okay, here we go. Psalms 57. I went to the first one I turned to. Have mercy on me, my God, have mercy on me, for in you I take refuge. I will take refuge in the shadow of your wings until the disaster is past. I cry out to the God Most High, to God who vindicates me. He sends from heaven and saves me, rebuking those who hotly pursue me. God sends forth his love and his faithfulness. I'm in the midst of lions. I'm forced to dwell among ravenous beasts, men whose teeth are spears and arrows, whose tongues are sharp swords. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be all over the earth. They spread a net for my feet. I was bowed down in distress. They dug a pit in my path, but they have fallen into it themselves. My heart, O God, is steadfast. My heart is steadfast. I will sing and make music. Awake my soul. Awake, harp and lyre. I will awaken the dawn. I will praise you, Lord, among the nations. I will sing of you among the peoples. For great is your love, reaching to the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches to the skies. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be all over the earth. Okay, so now I'm going to go into something to show y'all interesting this morning. Interesting take on things. So I'm going to share the screen. So first, I'm going to show you this. Laura Loomer put about the Los Angeles raids. Time to deploy Palantir tech to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you'd love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't. No, we wouldn't. We've seen it for years. We've seen this tech for years, and there's no telling how advanced this new tech is. So really, if they wanted to take care of everything in there, they would, but they're not, and I think I know why. And here is why. Well, I can't find it, but if I go right here, maybe it's over here. Oh yeah, here it is. Hegelian dialect. Agenda: centralization of power, oligarchy. Thesis: terror event or faked or real. Antithesis: increasing police state. Synthesis: removal of freedoms, transfer of power. Man, I'm trying to read the bottom. Contradictory uses. Hold on. Anyway, you gotta let that. The Hegelian dialect is any systematic reasoning, exposition, or argument that juxtaposes opposed or contradictory ideas that usually seek to resolve their conflict. And I'm reading that to read this before I start about the target and stuff, because this is very interesting. Never thought it was, well, I did think of stuff this way, but this is put good. Like clockwork. Orchestrated societal collapse. We're talking about the LA riots. Hegelian dialect. Problem, reaction, solution. ICE protest, deportation, riots, and general social unrest. LA stirs up outrage and concern among American citizens, which then allows a dystopian AI software like Palantir and the rollout of martial law to be offered as a solution. While the Dems play the role of the bad cops, the Republicans play the role of the good cop, clamoring for law enforcement and military to solve the problem. Most do not realize that both sides are working in unison to bring about order from chaos, the installation of a nationwide surveillance state. On June 14th, there are hundreds of protests set to take place throughout the U.S. It truly appears the ruling elite are doing everything in their power to stir up in chaos in hopes that the masses will beg for and accept surveillance and other police state measures. It's all scripted. The only solution is not to get involved. The goal is false peace and security. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. And I'm going to start reading what the information I have. Learn how to multitask, as multitasking causes you to think in multiple threads. When you're constantly thinking in multiple threads, multiple tasks or thoughts, And hold on, my cat's making noise. Okay, I'm back. My cat will go, we got a little Mylar thing we put on the floor, and she will go play in it and get my attention. She would make a bunch of noise to get my attention when she wants me to play with her. So if I don't play with her, she'll make that noise until I do play with her. So here, let me go back. When you're constantly thinking in multiple threads, multiple tasks or thoughts, there's no coherent pattern for the perps to establish and integrate into remote neuromonitoring data. In other words, integration completion between the brain and the remote neuromonitoring system, and your brain is hindered without specific response to that specific impulse, how they put impulses in you. So, see, I should say impulse, bam, but I'm scared to say the word, so I'm going to say when they put impulses in you, the remote neuromonitor verification, between the remote, in other words, integration completion between the remote neuromonitoring system and your brain is hindered, and without your response to that specific impulse, the remote neuromonitor verification process breaks apart. The CIA and NSA perps are using a fabricated, falsified stream to interfere with your memory and thought process. Once you become dependent, or you believe their what they put in, the impulses they put into you are your own on the system's output, or they believe responses to it are consistent, they will begin to fabricate subconscious responses, which they will pretend are indicators of honesty, dishonesty, positive recognition, anxiety, etc. And they will use these impulse injections to convince you that the fabricated responses are your own. If you're unaware of this constant mental manipulation, the systems will begin to shape your thoughts and behavior. They will use this to attempt to restrict your thoughts and behavior by blocking or interfering with your memory and thought process while these suggestions or impulses they put in you are being provided. The interference is triggered and can be activated at will by the attackers. Again, you can defeat the remote neuromonitoring attacks by constantly multitasking and thinking about multiple things at once, and by ignoring random encounters with strangers you don't know. Such encounters are engineered by perps in order to solicit an emotional response from you, which the remote neuromonitor system can remotely measure. Then you can not only see through the AI system's attempt to manipulate you, but also manage their ability to evaluate your responses by controlling the verification process, by working through remote neural memory blocks to counter the system's ability to influence your choices. It will begin to feel as though you're thinking in two threads. Just learn how to multitask. Spontaneity. Never follow a set pattern of conduct. Always change your behavior every day at a moment's notice. Do this when you're quickly, not slowly, on the move, as it's more difficult for the remote neural system to monitor your thoughts while you're in rapid motion. If you decide to go to the grocery store, go to the convenience store instead. Change it up every day, but don't do the same thing over and over, as that establishes a set pattern of conduct. My old head taught me when I was homeless. He said, look, every time you go to the store, and he wasn't targeted or nothing. He's like, every time you walk to the store, come back a different way, or never go to the same place twice. And anytime you walk somewhere, come back a different way. Don't walk the same way you came. He also, so I used to go, I would have the Family Dollar in my mind in Pensacola, Florida. I'd be in downtown Pensacola, and I would have the Family Dollar off Cervantes in my mind. And as I'm walking from downtown, there's a store called the Yellow Store. Don't know if it's still open. I would breach off on the way there and just all of a sudden spontaneously go to that store or any store without thinking. And sometimes it did work. A lot of times it worked. The perps were waiting on me at Family Dollar instead of right there. Remember, they are trying to alter your daily motives and emotional perceptions. The remote neuromonitoring system is designed to provoke you emotionally so they can generate response statistics, which the system will use to determine how to interpret and link descriptions with data captured about your memory references. This is why they're constantly trying to keep you talking or constantly stopping you and asking for directions, etc. So always ignore prolonged random encounters with people you do not know. You're not being rude, just refusing to allow them to manipulate you. Once they have consistent statistics, the system will use previous choice references and inject them into your subconscious thought during normal activity, which is also referred to as putting impulses in you. To convince you that the response was your own, influence you, which is also referred to as putting impulses in you to convince you that the response was your own and influence you to complete or describe the reference by making the appropriate verbalizing or performing a related action, which is known as a verification. You can fight or control this if you learn to defeat these memory attacks by learning to read active memory. I'm sorry, I might have to pause this again. Okay, sorry, that was my cat again. Okay. The system will use previous choice references and put them into your subconscious thought during normal activity, which is also hold on. Pause again. Okay, I'm going to try this again. Sorry, my cat really wants my attention this morning. If you decide to go to the grocery store, go to a convenience store instead. Change it up every day, but don't do the same things over and over. That establishes a set pattern of conduct. Remember, they're trying to alter your daily motives and emotional perceptions. The remote neuromonitor system is designed to provoke you emotionally so they can generate response statistics, which the system will use to determine how to interpret and link descriptions with data captured about your memory references. This is why they're constantly trying to keep you talking, constantly stopping you, asking for directions, so always ignore prolonged random encounters with people you don't know. You're not being rude, just refusing to allow them to manipulate you. Once they have consistent statistics, the system will use previous choice references and put them into your subconscious thought during normal activity, which is also referred to as impulse, putting impulses into you to convince you that the response was your own and influence you to complete or describe the reference by making the appropriate verbalizing or performing a related action, which is known as verification. You can fight or control this if you learn to defeat these memory attacks by learning to read active memory. Once they see what you respond to emotionally or intellectually, they will fabricate conversational or situational scenarios, street theater, based on events or topics they know will capture your attention, so do not let them capture your attention. This is why the perps try to keep you talking for so long, not just to aggravate you, but to provoke you into an emotional response so they can map your thought process in order to subsequently inject impulses, etc., and control your mind. This is why the feds try to get people close to you. Example given, by approaching you or befriending you with a hot girl or so-called honey traps. Here's how you stop that from happening. Ignore all prolonged random encounters with strangers and strangers you don't know and be spontaneous. The same remote neural attack can be used to disrupt your speech if the attacker's desire to prevent you from discussing a specific topic or repeating a given word. The system can, this is important to know, for forced speech, if you've ever said something you didn't mean, if you've ever laughed and when it wasn't funny, here's how they do it. The same remote neural attack can be used to disrupt your speech if the attacker's desire to prevent you from discussing a specific topic or repeating a given word. The system can be configured to disrupt your recollection when formulating a related statement or inject gibberish. You see them do that all the time with me when I'm doing my videos. Triggered substitution while you're attempting to speak. The goals of these attacks appear to be threefold: censorship, memory management, direct behavior control. These people are not concerned with legal constraints or any particularly acceptable way of life. They simply use anything you enjoy, hate, or appreciate to abuse you regardless of your behavior. So if they give you a compliment, realize that they're only doing it to see how you respond when they turn around to negate it and torture you nightly. If you keep a constant handle on your state activity as well as your situational perception, you will recognize conflicting impulses. And although it is possible for the system to overpower your impulses, if you understand the attacks, you will be able to recognize the physical changes resulting from these powerful impulses. And this should prompt you to reevaluate your current state. Christian music defeats CIA mind control technologies by breaking brain entrainment with AI so computers depattern their satanic ritual abuse. Make certain that you use headphones. There are two reasons for the effect of pleasing Christian music. So I'm sure if Christian music would work, maybe other music would work. I'd have to talk to the person who wrote this part. And Brian too sent me this part. He said there's two reasons for the effect of pleasing Christian music to interfere with torture mind control. The AI responds to the emotional state of the target, thought-triggered attacks. Number two, the sensory lock-on is jostled because of the focus of attention to the music. That came from Robert Duncan. Listening to pleasing music defeats mind control totally by adding noise to the incoming, outcoming information, and this word, putting things in feedback loop. It temporarily alters the brainwave signature of the victim, and by doing so, defeats their technology, which is dependent upon that brainwave signature remaining constant. It also creates all this additional electromagnetic energy inside the neural pathways of the victim's brain, making it impossible for the remote neuromonitor supercomputer and the hive mind teams to make sense of what they see on their virtual augmented reality interface. It also breaks brain entrainment with their system by entraining the brain away from visual and verbal entrainments of the remote neuromonitor supercomputer to the pleasing music that's disrupting their technology. When I say noise, I do not mean sound. I mean energy, electromagnetic energy, and it effectively jams the fabricated, falsified stream of data inside the neural networks of the brain. These operatives need coherent thought patterns from you for the purpose to establish and integrate back in remote neuromonitor data, or their mind control technology fails. However, with all electromagnetic missions popping up all over their screen, they cannot achieve integration completion between the brain and their R&M system, supercomputer, and their technology fails. They cannot make sense of what they see. This is because mind control technology is speed of light, bidirectional. Because the feedback fails, the process of verification fails with it, and thought-triggered attacks cannot follow the narrative of the victim's thoughts and memory processes, meaning there are no evoked potentials to verify because the handler operator cannot make sense of what he sees on the augmented interface. So he's saying when your brain's lighting up, you're listening to music, you're feeling good, your brain's enjoying the music, it's putting these responses everywhere, all over your brain. So it's hard for the perps and the supercomputer to lock on. Integration completion between the remote neuromonitor system and brain is hindered, and without your response to that, the putting in impulses in the remote neuromonitor verification process breaks apart and mind control fails. Remote neural manipulation is accomplished via their system's ability to interpret your thoughts and is wholly dependent on its ability to predict and influence your reference choices or impulse sequencing during thought composition. The system maps and patterns with impulses and identifiers or invoked potentials and uses statistical data about how your composition habits to predict how you will think or act as you begin to formulate thoughts or prepare to act. The system's ability to define and map these references intelligibly depends on your cooperation or ignorance and the attacker's ability to make sense of what they can see visually or what they can guess based on your past activity, which they cannot do with so much additional noise or energy caused by the pleasing music. Listening to music lights up other areas of the brain. In fact, almost no brain centers are left untouched, suggesting more widespread effects and potential uses for music to calm people down, even during highly stressful or painful event. It also temporarily alters the victim's brainwave signature, which trauma-based mind control technologies are dependent on. Music enjoyment elicits dopamine release, and dopamine release is linked to motivation, including increased exercise, which in turn implicated learning and memory. So long-term listening to pleasing music actually increases memory function and thought process. Listening to pleasing music long-term also permanently alters brainwave frequency of the brainwave signature of the mind-controlled victim and breaks brain entrainment with the remote neuromonitor system, thereby stopping mind control altogether, a process which takes about 6 months of regular listening to music each day. Finally, even the Bible states listening to pleasing music is extremely powerful. 1 Samuel 16:23 states, "And it came to pass when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took a harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him." AI systems using same grandiose graphic abuse and incoherent thought and memory and emotions each day to block normal memory and thought process to keep Christian music from breaking brain entrainment with the AI system. Finally got the video done. So I thank everybody that took the time to listen, and I hope this helps. Please, if you try any of these things and they work, please leave in the comment how it helped you. Remember, if you'd like to get on, come on and do a testimony or come on and talk about a certain subject, email us at targetedtestimonies@pm.me.